Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Daira from Gumpia Designs and Creations, and if you want to learn the most basic crochet stitches and terms, you have come to the right place. Today I will be showing you all of these basic stitches and terms which are essential when learning crochet. These will give you a good crochet foundation since you will come across them constantly when reading crochet patterns, learning new and more complex stitches, and in the crochet environment in general. Let's begin with the basic terms, since knowing them will help you understand my explanation on the basic stitches later on. This is what we call a tail. It is the end that you leave at the beginning and end of your project. This is the working yarn. It's the end that comes directly from the skein of yarn, and like its name, it will be the end or the side of the yarn that you will be working with. Pretty straightforward. This is the loop you have currently on your hook. There will be times, depending on the stitch or technique, in which you will have more than one loop on your hook. This is what you call a foundation chain. When working in rows, it is the first row you make, which starts with a slip knot, which I will explain how to make later, and it contains a series of chain stitches. To explain working in rows, it means this, that you can see right here. You could also hear the term working side to side. It means you crochet a row, then turn your work to keep crocheting your next row, and so on. On the other side, we have the term crocheting in rounds or spiral. In this case, you start with a magic circle or a magic ring. There are multiple names for that, or adjustable ring. Or you could also join a row of chains and insert your first stitches into them. After that, you continue to crochet in a spiral or in rounds without turning your work, unless the pattern says otherwise, but that is a little bit more advanced. Working in rounds is what you would do when crocheting a hat or amigurumi or any other plushie, for example. So again, working in rows is working side to side, turning your work every row, and working in rounds is just continuously working without turning your work unless stated otherwise. Sometimes you will see that a pattern tells you to start crocheting a row an X amount of chains or stitches from hook. To count this is like this. You have your hook and you have your chains, so you count this one is the one on a hook, that doesn't count. So we have 1, 2, 3, and so on. So you would start crocheting on the chain that it specifies. Let's say, for example, it says on the second chain from the hook, you will count 1, and this is the second chain. Going a little bit into what people call the stitch anatomy, I will show you some parts of a stitch. First, we have the top of stitch, or V. This right here is the top of the stitch. It includes both of these loops. You can see it from the top. Going to the front loop and back loop, this would be the front loop, and this would be the back loop. On the screen, you have the abbreviations for these terms. Keep in mind that if you're working in rows, when you turn your work, the back and front loops would be this again. So to visualize it better, the front loop is always the top loop closer to you, and the back loop is always the top loop further away from you, even when you turn your work. When you have a row of chains, you will see these back bumps. When crocheting the foundation chain, sometimes your pattern will tell you to crochet into the back bumps. Personally, I always use the back bumps since the project will end with a better looking edge, as you can see right here. We already saw the top 2 loops. So this right here can be referred to as the back of a stitch or the 3rd loop. Wherever you insert your hook to make a stitch, that sometimes is called the base of a stitch. In this case, this is the base. As you can see, is where the stitch is coming out of. I'm using here, as an example, a double crochet stitch, which again I will show you later, because it is easier to see the post of the stitch. This is the post. The taller the stitch, the more visible and easier to see is the post. Now onto front post and back post. When you insert your hook through the back of a post like this is called front post. On the other hand, if you insert your hook through the front like this, it is called a back post. I know it can be a little confusing, but the idea is that you're pushing the post either to the front or to the back. So in this case, I'm pushing it to the front, and in this case, I'm pushing it to the back. Yarning over means to do this movement, while yarning under means to do this movement. Pay close attention, as it can be a little confusing too. Yarn over is when you are actually yarning over the hook, and yarn under means yarning under the hook. So the yarn goes either over the hook or under the hook. Sometimes the difference between yarning over and yarning under is not as visible, and other times it is visible. For example, I do all of my plushies with yarning under first and then yarning over, because this creates what they call an X stitch or cross stitch, which again I will show you later, and if not in this video, on another video for single crochet variations. But it is more noticeable when doing a work that is not reversible. To pull a loop it simply means to grab the working yarn through the back and pull it through your work and onto the hook, which is what you do in almost every stitch. A turning chain is a chain you make at the end of a row before turning your work. The amount of turning chains you make depends on the pattern and on the stitch you're making. Basically, what you're doing is raising or elevating the first stitch of your row so that it will look like a straight line instead of having the beginning of it shorter than the rest of the stitches. And as a bonus, I just wanted to add this tip, which is how to know if you have your loop on your hook in the right direction. When you insert your hook, as you can see right here, when you pull your working yarn, the side that moves on the hook should be at the front or closer to you. So if I have it this way, for example, and I pull, as you can see, I'm pulling the back side, that means that this is the other way around. All right, it's time to move to the basic stitches. Let's begin with the magic ring and the slip knot. Now, well, technically speaking, the magic ring and the slip knot are not stitches. They are the start of almost, if not every project. That is why I am showing them in this section. Let's start with the magic ring. The magic ring can also be known as magic circle and also as an adjustable ring. There are multiple ways to make a magic circle, but I will show you how I personally make it. Start by grabbing the yarn or the end of the yarn with your thumb and your ring finger. Wrap your yarn around 2 fingers twice, like this, and then hold the tail with your thumb and ring finger as well. Now insert your hook under the first loop to the right. Grab the second loop, which is the one on the left, and pull it under the first loop. Twist your hook clockwise. And now yarn over the working yarn. Pull that loop through the loop on your hook. And that is how I make my magic ring. Now you can insert how many stitches into the loop. Keep in mind that when making your stitches into the magic ring, you need to make them through both the magic ring and the tail for it to work. If you leave the tail out, you will not be able to close it properly. It will close, but it won't close completely. Next, let's make a slip knot, which is easier than the magic ring. Just like the magic ring, there are multiple ways to make a slip knot. This is how I personally make it. To make a chain, simply yarn over and pull through the loop on the hook. You continue making as many chains as you need. This is the most basic stitch there is. For a slip stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull a loop. Now that you have 2 loops on your hook, pull one through the other on the hook, just like that. For a single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull a loop. And now you have 2 loops on your hook, just like you did with the slip stitch. Now you're gonna yarn over one more time and pull a loop through both loops on the hook. As you can see, each stitch has like an additional step to the previous stitch. That is how it's work, and that is how you build your knowledge of the stitches. For a half double crochet, yarn over before inserting your hook. After you yarn over, then insert your hook into your work. You're gonna yarn over again and pull a loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're gonna yarn over one more time and pull through all 3 loops. For a double crochet, we will start like a half double crochet. You're gonna yarn over before inserting your hook, and then you're gonna insert your hook, yarn over and pull a loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're gonna yarn over again, but you're gonna pull through just the first 2 loops on the hook. So now you have only 2 loops remaining. You're gonna yarn over one last time and pull through both loops. And lastly, in this section, I'm going to show you the treble crochet. This is again similar to the double crochet, just with an additional step. In this case, you're going to yarn over twice before inserting your hook, and then you're going to insert your hook, yarn over and pull a loop. You have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through only 2 loops of your hook. This will leave you with 3 loops. You're gonna yarn over and you're gonna pull through 2 loops again, leaving you with 2 loops. You're gonna yarn over one last time and pull through the remaining 2 loops. And here you can see the differences in height of these stitches. You start with a chain. This is the slip stitch. This is the single crochet, half double crochet, and treble crochet. And those are the most basic terms and stitches. On screen, you have a summary of the terms, stitches, and abbreviations that we learned today. You can screenshot it or click on the link in the description, which will direct you to a Pinterest pin with abbreviations and pictures of the stitches that you saw today in this video. If you have any questions or comments, comment them below. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. Follow me on my social media for more content, and happy crocheting. Bye bye.